Hey guys, today we're going to diagnose a gas oven. If your oven has an igniter like this, stay tuned. We're going to replace it and I'm going to show you what to look for. This repair was done on a DACOR oven. Yours might be different, but the process should be the same. Thanks for watching. This is Fix It Felix. I have a ton of videos on repairs, diagnosis, and tricks to the trade. Stay tuned, like, and subscribe. So if you're just a regular do-it-yourselfer, you're not going to have all the tools that I have. So I'm going to show you a quick way to diagnose this. So on the left is the gas selector for the top, and this one is a computer-based oven. So you select bake 350 and hit bake again. So if you have a dial, you could turn it to 350, sit back, relax, and watch this thing glow. This is your surface igniter, and what happens is it gets energy and it lights up. Depending on how powerful it gets, it opens up a safety valve. So this part might look like it's working, but I could tell it's too dim. That's what we got. This is a working one at the end of the video. Look how bright that is. So that's pulling a certain amperage, and that's going to open up any safety valves. So I think this one is on the low side. I also checked the amperage and it was low. But what we're doing here is we're just going to replace it and see if the oven actually releases gas. So I started taking out this screw and I decided, let me stop and look around. The wires are right in the front, so I could unplug them. And there's a little hole there where I could slide the igniter through. So instead of taking out all the screws and the tube, on this one, I just have to take out these two screws. So it's very rusty. So I put a little soap. Don't use WD-40. There's a method to the madness. Just put a little soap on there, some bubbly soap and water. Let it sit for a while, and that's gonna help the screws come out. You don't want your screwdriver to be crooked because these screws are very gentle and you could break them or get them stuck. So in this case, this screwdriver is too big. So I put a smaller bit on it and it fits inside, so I could go straight at the screw. You don't want to do it crooked or sideways or with a ratchet. You want to get good pressure and just gently take the screw out. So as the screw comes out, use your hand, make sure you're not overdoing it. See all that rust? That's going to really get stuck in there and waste the screw in the hole. So you don't want that. So what you want to do is take your time, make sure that there's lubrication. And I use soap because it's not as smelly as oil, and this is an oven. So I just go ahead and pull it out to the front. So that was pretty easy. On your oven, you might have to take out the burner tube or pull the oven out, but do your best to locate how can I get this out the easiest way. That's all it's about. Since this one had these terminals, I'm going to reuse the wires and the heat shield. So I cut it at the igniter. This right here is a GE igniter. It's a universal igniter and they're pretty good. There's a couple companies that make it. I like the GE or the FRIGIDAIRE. You go ahead and figure that part out. This GE has two wings on it, so it's useful on many different ovens. And it comes with just wires, so you have to get the connection, either wire nut it or put on the original connector. So in this case, I'm going to put the original connector with a wire nut. So right here, I just strip in the wire. I strip the other end. I slide over the heat shield first. Then I like to open up the wires a bit. So I unstrand them. This is all soft wire. And I unstrand it, and then I twist them together first. And then I get the wire nut on there. And that's so I have a really good surface area connection. All the wires are touching. So now I put the wire nut on. That's one connector, and I'll copy the same process to the other side. You might have what they call a Molex plug, like a little plastic plug. Same thing, you can reuse that plug. It doesn't matter which wire goes on which side. So you just want to make sure those wire nuts are snug. So every time I put a wire nut, I like to tug on it. You don't want this falling off and causing a problem. So that's basically it. Now, there's two wings on this. It's not going to fit, so you have to bend down the one you're not using. I used the pliers and I bent it in. So now the surface igniter is flat, and we're going to slide it through the hole. Now it doesn't fit through this side, so I'm going to put the wires through this side and pull them out. Now you got to be gentle, because if you knock around that igniter, it could break or crack. So everything you do from now on is going to be nice and gentle until you screw it in. So now you're going to line up the holes right on the burner tube. See the light go right through it, and then you're going to start the screws by hand. Start it by hand and then tighten them in. So now we're halfway there. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave some comments if this was very helpful for you. I like to put both screws in first by hand, and then I tighten them down. You want to make sure that you put the wing right on the burner tube, and the open side of that igniter faces the tube. What happens is gas will come out of the tube, go right through the open cage, and then ignite. We're going to see that later in the video. So now I tighten them up, and I think all that's left is to plug it in and test the unit. So remember, your oven might be different. This applies to all ovens with this type of ignition system. This is an igniter. If you have a sparker or a pilot, it's going to be different. So now here we go. We plug in the wires. Make sure you don't do what I did when I started and connect the igniter to itself. You want one side on one side and the other side on the other side. So now we're going to tuck that away. And we're going to test it out now. I turned the light off so I can see how bright it's getting. And I'm going to do 350 bake. And here is the igniter lighting up. This is the brand new one. If you go back to the beginning of the video, you can see how dim it was. This is super bright. And the brightness relates to how powerful the igniter is and how it's going to open that safety valve. It has to be above like 2.9 amperage that it has to pull. The old one was 2.3, I think. It was kind of weak. Here's the oven in its full glory, just heating up. Now, if you put a new igniter and the wires are connected and it doesn't light up, or it still doesn't open the gas, then you have a second problem or a different problem. It could all start with a bad igniter, causing that gas valve to seize up inside or not work properly, and over time that could ruin the entire oven. So if this didn't work for you, you may have a different problem. Feel free to reach out. I could help you walk through it. Now this only applies to, once again, gas ovens with these igniters. Find out how to disassemble your oven. If you type in on YouTube repair clinic and then your type of oven disassembly, you can find tons of videos on that specific oven. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.